tried to watch a great Mike Birbiglia is still funny to me. Watched his stand up.
I've heard his new one's pretty good.
Tried to watch Ricky Smiley's.
Not as good.
Turned it off. I was like, all right, I can't.
I think
out.
Sarah Silverman has a new one out too.
She does. That's who else had one. Sarah Silverman, man. It hit or miss with me.
Me too.
Sometimes I can roll with it. Sometimes I can't. So I'll give it a watch at some point in time because there's nothing happening. My wife looked up at me yesterday and was like, "Hey, are you okay?" Like, yeah, I'm just bored.
Okay, how were none of those Commissioner Cups games on TV?
You tell me. Tell me.
I would have done anything to sit and watch the Liberty win by 50 points in the middle of my afternoon.
I would have watched it.
Me too.
I would have watched it if it was on. I absolutely would have watched the Storm come back on the Aces.
No, I was so mad about it. I was like, "What, Kathy? What are you doing?"
Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
There's nothing happening. I guess they were saying. I guess the thought is, if Eastern Conference Finals is a Game 7, then we don't want to compete with that, but F it. But what? No. Wait, Game 7 have been on Sunday? Would have been today. I think it would have been today. Yeah,
there was never going to be anything on that day. There wasn't even an NHL game. There was baseball.
Well, and UFL. Saw the last game of the season for the Showboats. They tried. They Jessica, I don't know if you heard about the grenade formation yet, but oh boy. Let me tell you about what it's like to have 11 offensive linemen on the field.
I can't believe you have any anecdote to share.
What do you mean? Yeah, listen, had I known Devin Gardner was going to be in the city and been in the arena, I would have been at that game.
Okay.
I didn't know my guy was going to be there, though.
Okay.
Maybe next year. What was the song?
Maybe next year. I actually didn't listen to a song. I listened to today's episode of The Daily because I'm still dog sitting and I had like 25 minutes on that drive.
It can't take you 25 minutes.
It does take 25 minutes from where we're staying.
No, because I stayed over there.
No, it's 25 because you have to go through. It's deep into a neighborhood.
Okay.
It's like 5 minutes to get out of the neighborhood.
Okay.
And then it's like 17. So sorry, it's 22 minutes.
All right.
And I didn't even finish the episode. It was on Elon Musk and his drug habits.
Oh.
The New York Times article that came out this weekend.
Elon Musk turning into a real life Captain Planet villain?
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. What's up, everybody? It is Monday, June 2nd. It is going to be a good day. Jessica Benson with you from the Grind City Media Studios in Memphis, Tennessee. CJ Hurt behind the glass. Coming up on today's show, the NBA Finals are set. Pacers locked up the East over the weekend, so it is Indiana OKC. We will get into Indy's Game 6 win, Pascal Siakam's Eastern Conference Finals MVP, and an early look at the finals matchup between the Pacers and the Thunder. Gary Parrish will join us about 40 minutes in. We'll get his takes on it all, plus the NBA on TNT said goodbye over the weekend, what things will look like from a broadcast perspective moving forward. WNBA action to get through from the weekend. The Liberty committed a massacre to start the W's Commissioner's Cup. The Fever are struggling to find wins without Caitlin Clark. And then we'll do some Hot Mess Express as well. It is a Monday. You know what we say. First show of June. Happy Pride Month. Happy Pride.
Feels great to feel the sunshine. Gotta own the day like it's all mine. Just got paid in his own time. Been working hard, I've been on the grind. I deserve this feeling, having my way. I've been on this healing. This is my day. The sun's out, let's have a little fun now. I wanna let it all out. That's what it's all about. Cause I deserve this feeling, having my way. I deserve this healing. This is my day.
Grind City Media presents The Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hurt. Live from the Grind City Media Studios on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
What's up, everybody? Happy Monday, happy June. Hope you had a wonderful weekend and a start to the month. We left here on Friday with the question of would we be sitting here Monday morning getting ready for a Game 7 between the Pacers and the Knicks? Would the Knicks be able to go into Indiana, win it, force a fabulous Game 7 on a Monday night? The answer was no. No, they did not, because the Pacers won the Eastern Conference Finals over the weekend with a 125-108 win over the Knicks in Game 6. Put the Pacers into the NBA Finals for just the second time in franchise history, their first since 2000. And CJ, in 49 states, it's just basketball. But this is Indiana. How many times are we going to have to hear that over the course of this postseason?
Until Oklahoma City bounces them up out of here.
In 4.
You think it's 4?
No, I actually don't.
Okay.
In my way too early, I think it's 5. I think the Pacers can get a game.
I had that thought about basketball. I don't know why I was thinking about just the status of basketball in this country. But I was like, okay, basketball is more important in a handful of places. And that handful, it's because of the Buford Stadium. That's why I was thinking about it. Georgia, Beaufort County, Beaufort City, I don't know, Beaufort High School. I don't know what the hell they are. They got a $60-something million football stadium.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I was thinking about it like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Georgia, I'd say in Tennessee, the whole state as a collective football is bigger. And Memphis is not, right? I'm not sure about Kentucky. I feel like Louisville basketball is bigger. I'm not sure if the whole state it's bigger. New York City basketball is bigger than football. Indiana as a whole state, they live and die by basketball.
The Hoosier State.
They are. They love them some basketball. It's good to see the Pacers get back to an NBA Finals, and maybe they'll win one.
We have plenty of time to talk about Pacers Thunder because that series does not begin until Thursday. We will have to find ways to manage our time without basketball for the first time in a long time until that NBA Final Series starts. But looking at the game from over the weekend, even Timothy Chalamet bringing Kylie Jenner to Indianapolis on a Saturday night was not enough to catapult the Knicks into a situation where they forced a Game 7. I could not believe Kylie Jenner showed up in Indianapolis. Because that means they're real. She went with her man to Indiana on a weekend, and she posted a picture of her suitcase, and she has all her Knicks. She had Knicks, knickknacks, paddywhacks, all the clothes for that opportunity. The Knicks never led in that game after halftime, and it did not really feel as if they had a chance to. I think it was at some point during the third quarter, they put up a graphic on points off turnovers this series. And at that time, it was 120 for the Pacers and 48 for the Knicks. And it felt like it was 300 million for the Pacers and like 2 for the Knicks. Between points off turnovers and transition points, the Pacers literally ended up running the New York Knicks out of the playoffs. And that was the question going into that series. Would the Knicks and all the heavy minutes of their starters and all the mileage on their bodies, would they be able to keep up with the Pacers? And ultimately, the answer was no. The Larry Bird trophy, put it in the list of trophies that why do we need, but we have, so that we can talk about it on a Monday morning coming out of Game 6.
I like conference MVPs. I like conference MVPs.
Why?
Because you won. You're the champion of your conference when it's all said and done. I like that.
Yeah, but you still have more to do. It feels weird to award an MVP before we get to the finals.
Should we not award regular season MVPs?
That's different.
Yeah, like
that's 82 games.
I feel like it's different. Like regular season is one thing, playoffs is one thing, and then finals is another thing. I'm fine with it.
Okay.
And I enjoy the names being Larry Bird and Magic Johnson.
I do like that.
That makes me happy.
And I did like that it went to Pascal Siakam, even though when they set up and Reggie was there to help give the trophy out, which I'm sure made people just thrilled. He wore black for the occasion. All the Pacers coaches wore black for the occasion. It was a funeral for the New York Knicks, and Reggie was there to be a part of it. I thought he was great on the broadcast, and I think it's like much ado about nothing, but just someone who had all of his history there. Of course, there's going to be a connectivity for Reggie and the Pacers. But as they're like lifting the trophy, I say, to Tyrese Haliburton, and then out of the broadcast it goes to Pascal Siakam.
Oh.
And I said, and Tyrese Haliburton also said, because if you look at the video of Tyrese Haliburton in the back of this, as they are getting ready to announce the Larry Bird Eastern Conference Finals MVP trophy, Tyrese Haliburton gets ready to start walking up to accept his trophy and then has to take a step back because it is not his. It is that of Pascal Siakam. And it's weird because my first instinct was that it would be Tyrese Haliburton because he's the generator for this team and feels like, you know, the heartbeat of this team and why they're in a position to be going to the NBA Finals. Obviously not exclusively, But when you look at it, Pascal Siakam was the most consistent offense for this Pacers team throughout the Eastern Conference Finals. And he ended up leading the team in scoring, averaging 24 points a game. Even in Game 6, like early on when it looked like the Knicks could be in a position to force a Game 7, who came up with the big shots? Pascal Siakam. In Game 2, it was entirely Pascal Siakam. And I felt like at so many points of this series, he would either hit a big three, a timely three, or more importantly, he was running that court like his life depended on it. He ran hard, he ran fast, he was constantly getting out into transition opportunities. He had so many layup line-like shots, and Coach Thibodeau said after the game, it just made him such a tough cover for this Knicks group because I think he represented just the most difficult thing for them to capture, and that's someone who just wants to go fast, like Ricky Bobby style all the time. So I had no issue with Pascal Siakam ultimately getting that Eastern Conference MVP. I get that it gives sports media fodder and something to talk about when it comes to the end of it. And even though Tyrese Haliburton, I think he led in every other category, from assists, rebounds, shooting percentage, first in steals, first in stocks, tied for first in threes. But shout out Pascal Siakam.
I mean, it's not just that he wants to be fast, because there are dudes in the NBA who go fast. It's the position that he plays in the cross matchups. So if you got Karl Anthony Towns on him, all right, Karl, let's run. If you put Mitch Robinson on him, you're talking about somebody who is down around the rim when the shot goes up. Now you got to sprint back because Pascal's gone.
Yeah.
So can you sprint back? And that's how Biggs used to run. Biggs used to, one of the things that made Shaq early on in his career so fun to watch and such a problem matchup-wise was Shaq could run the length of the floor and he would finish emphatically on fast breaks and on secondary breaks. And to see Pascal Siakam do that, Giannis does that now real well. And we know Giannis does it. Again, because Pascal played in Toronto and now in Indiana, we kind of forget about him when we talk about some of those great versatile big men playing right now. Pascal was a walking mismatch all playoffs long. And I'm interested to see what Chet, because I'm assuming that's who guards him, what Chet ends up doing with them. But like you said, we got time to talk about that. And this, up to this point, there have been few bigs better than Pascal Siakam in the playoffs. And to your point, part of the reason is because he runs the court so well. He can make threes. He can put the ball on the floor. Not only can he go by you, he can change direction off of the dribble. He's not a bad passer off of the dribble either. And defensively, he's a good perimeter defender as well as somebody who does a decent enough job on bigs. Now, Karl Anthony Towns is a matchup nightmare from time to time. I thought they did a much better job trying to slow him down and containing him in Game 6 than they did in Game 5. So Pascal Siakam's going to be a problem, and congratulations to him for winning the Larry Bird trophy. Now, if we're going to do MVPs, can we do like all tournament teams? Because that's the next thing. I want all tournament teams.
I never
want all
thought
playoff
that you
teams.
would be of the everybody deserves a trophy generation. I thought you'd be fighting against. I thought you'd be saying we have too many trophies to give out.
No. If the trophies is worthwhile, they're worthwhile.
If the trophy honors a great in Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, then it works. I think if we're doing all tournament teams, it gets a little excessive.
We do all tournament teams everywhere. Everywhere
Fine,
else we
add
do all
another
tournament
one.
teams. March Madness has an all tournament team.
True, they do.
All of the AAU tournaments have all tournament
The
teams.
AAU tournaments do it, so we should absolutely do it in the NBA
state tournament
playoffs.
has an all tournament team, right? Like, come on, give us all tournaments.
I did find myself thinking when Siakam wins the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, there's never one move that ultimately makes a team a finals team, but that trade for Siakam has been everything that the Pacers could have hoped and dreamed and imagined it to be. 3 players and 3 firsts for him. And there was one player who was a part of a salary situation. Who was the third? I can't remember it off the top of my head. But ultimately, what they had to give up for him did not feel excessive at the time. And it's done nothing but be a win for Indiana. Ever since they've gotten him, they went to 2 Eastern Conference Finals, and now they've gone to the finals. The experience there. And I think it just shows the way this Pacers team is built, period. Miles Turner, after the win on Saturday, said, "We're not the flashiest, sexiest team, but it gets results." And they should make that the banner for the NBA Finals this year. Not the flashiest, sexiest teams, but they get results. And results are fun. Winning is fun. And I enjoy watching their brand of basketball. I enjoy watching the Thunder too. And this Pacers team has been fun. You asked me a few weeks ago, like, are the Pacers good? And I think definitively, yes, they are good. They are a great team that made it to the 2025 NBA Finals. Like, who expected, of all people, Thomas Bryant to have a storyline coming out of Game 6? Because Miles Turner gets in foul trouble, and what does Thomas Bryant do? He comes in and he has 11 points in 13 minutes and hits 3 of 4 threes and has everybody asking, maybe LeBron James should have passed it to him in the post when he was asking for it, as LeBron went for the scoring record in that one game many a years ago. I had forgotten he was literally traded the day after that happened, and it was for him because it was a contract year and putting him in a position. But he ultimately, goes to Denver and is on the team that wins a championship in Denver and has his number called and steps up and comes up with some big minutes. Like, the Pacers are just built top to bottom. They are representative, both them and the Thunder, of this notion of deep teams built in a way that are effective in the modern CBA. This will, no matter who wins, I think it'll be the first time in a long time that we have a team that has not had to dip into the luxury tax. It will not be a luxury tax team that wins in this year's NBA Finals. And it just feels like this is the prototype of teams that will be able to win in the next however many years that we look down the road.
Maybe. I can see that thought process. You can walk me through it because both of these teams had one of those super mega star players at the time that people wanted on their roster, and that's how they were able to sort of flip and get more assets. I think when you think about that Thunder trade, the trade of Paul George to the Clippers and everything they got back for that. And then I forget who the Pacers, was it also Paul George?
Yes, this is the Paul George.
The Pacers Paul George.
The finals brought
trade,
to you by Paul George.
And think about the way, okay, cool, we got assets now. We're talking about the Pacers, so I'm thinking about them specifically right now. Great. We've got Sabonis. We could try and continue to figure out how to make this work, or we can do something to shake this up. We can move Sabonis to Sacramento. We can get their backup point guard, who we've identified as being pretty good. Like, that's a quality NBA player. We can go get him. And then with the additional assets, maybe we can go out there and grab a couple of other pieces, a Pascal Siakam, who becomes available because the Raptors decide to go into full sell mode. We can go and grab him, and maybe we can grab some other pieces as well to put around them, and then we can figure it out from there, right? If you are a team who's got desirable pieces, if you've got some all-NBA players or some all-defensive players, or you got dudes who are really, really exciting but not quite getting the job done, I think both of those franchises have shown you, hey, you don't need to hold on to them. Mm-hmm. You can trade them at their highest value point. Now, that might mean aggravating some fans here or there. It'll definitely mean that. But the fans come back when you start winning. You can't convince me that everybody who was a Pacers fan was thrilled to move Sabonis for the backup point guard for the Sacramento Kings, right? Like, you're not going to be able to convince me of that. You're not going to convince me that in their heart of hearts, everybody who was a fan of the Oklahoma City Thunder were thrilled that the Thunder couldn't find a way to make the Paul George thing work or to force the Paul George thing to work. And they gave him up for some dude named SGA who, if I recall, was not playing a whole lot for the Clippers, right? Like, you can't convince me that there were fans who were thrilled to have those things happening. And then you look up, if you make the right moves, 3 years down the line, you look up and this is where you could be. 2, 3, 4 years down the line, this is where you could be because you've made smart, savvy moves, avoiding not just the second apron, avoiding the tax altogether. Like, those are things you can do. Yeah. It's tough conversations. You got to look your roster in the mirror and say, hey, is this working? If it's not, maybe we move up off some of these dudes. And by some of these dudes, not the role players, but the core group. Maybe we move 2 or 3 of them and figure it out from there. And just because you move them doesn't mean it's got to be a full-on rebuild that takes 9-10 years to complete. You don't have to trust a 76ers style process. They've shown you, the Pacers have shown you, hey, you can move it and continue to grow and continue to get better until you get the right roster in front of you, and then boom, you can make the push right there. And it doesn't have to be lottery every single damn year.
And then you get set in a situation where people look at you and say, oh, they're built to come back next year and be a contender.
This is a conversation for later in the month, maybe.
We've got to stretch these at this point.
Well, because you don't want to get too far out ahead of the story. But again, I ponder where people will have them preseason.
Well, let's ponder after a quick break, because the team you can already do it for is the New York Knicks. And you know the media in New York wastes no time.
They were ready.
Flipping the narrative from the season that was to, is Karl Anthony Towns a problem? They had player meetings with PJ Tucker.
Well, yeah, PJ Tucker's a dude. That's his whole role.
That's the whole reason they brought him, was to lead the player meetings. It was a tremendous piece in The Athletic, but we will get into what it means for the Knicks, who by all means had their most successful season in forever and make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, but fall short of making the NBA Finals, and where the conversations turn for the Knicks when we come back. Is your child a natural-born entertainer? Now is their chance to join the most talented youth dance crew in the Mid-South, the Blue Bunch. The Blue Bunch entertains Grizz Nation with their energetic dance routines and even have the opportunity to collaborate on performances with leading artists in the entertainment industry. Kids ages 7 to 17 are invited to show off their skills and personality for their chance to join the next generation of NBA entertainers. Open auditions are Saturday, June 28th. Visit grizzlies.com/auditions now for more information.
Creed. By overwhelming demand, the Summer of '99 tour returns. July 27th, FedEx Forum. With very special guest, Daughtry. And Mammoth. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com. Don't miss Creed with Daughtry and Mammoth. The Summer of '99 tour.
The First Ladies of FedEx Forum, the Grizz Girls, are known across the NBA for setting the standard for professional dance and entertainment, and they are looking for dancers to join their team for the 2025-2026 season. With the chance to gain professional dance experience and connect with the Memphis community, auditioning for the Grizz Girls is an opportunity you do not want to miss. Come show up at Open Call Auditions Saturday, July 26th at the Memphis Sports and Events Center. Visit grizzlies.com/auditions now for more information.
1, 2, 3. Ready, go.
Dance Kid Dance Tour. Live in Memphis. FedEx Forum, Saturday, August 30th. With special guests, Bush and Morgan Wade. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Shinedown, live in concert. For more, visit shinedown.com.
Catch us if you can at Southland Casino Hotel and win your share of up to $1.8 million in free play and prizes. Join us for drawings every Saturday in May, June, and July. Each month, over 900 winners will take home free play or drive off in a new car or motorcycle. Be there for all 6 grand finale drawings and try to catch us if you can, only at Southland Casino Hotel. Must be 21 up. Play responsibly. For help quitting, call 800-522-4700.
The other thing that came out this week that we were talking about innovation and Nike and all that, they dropped these $900 hyper boots that
900.
I mean, they're a recovery shoe apparently that you wear after sports, whatever.
Who's buying it? Because all the athletes that we see, they're gonna get seated this. So who's gonna actually pay $900 for this?
The Sneak Fest Show, live Tuesdays at 2 p.m. on Grind City Media on X, YouTube, and the official Grind City Media mobile app.
How about Mr. Irrelevant coming from the Memphis Tigers? Yeah, how about that? New England Patriots
Second
took
time.
Memphis defensive back Kobe Minor with the 257th overall pick.
If you're the player getting drafted at that spot, it's almost better to go undrafted and pick a place as an undrafted free agent to sign with where you have a better chance.
But you get a lot of stuff. You get a parade. I think you go to Disneyland, I believe.
Mr. Irrelevant goes to Disney?
I think so.
The Odds Couple, live at 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app. so the New York Knicks won 51 games in the regular season, their most since 2013, made it to the conference finals, their first time in 25 years. They have gotten better every season over the last 4 years, from not making the playoffs to a second-round exit to a semifinals exit in 7 games where everyone was injured by the end, and now the conference finals. So naturally, the question is, should Tom Thibodeau be fired?
Sure, why not?
Should Tom Thibodeau be fired? Somebody had the audacity to ask Jalen Brunson that right after the game on Saturday night.
Come on, man.
To which he said, is that a real question right now?
Yes.
And that reporter said, yes, please answer it. They did not actually say that, but that's how it seemed to have gone. He was like, you just asked me if I believe he's the right guy. Yes, he was incredulous that it was to be asked. I kind of tend to be in the same position. I get why the question is asked, and I understand the expectations in New York. And this was such a weird Knicks season because there was this quality to the season, both in the regular season and in the playoffs. It took similar paths where there were times where you're thinking, God, Jalen Brunson is incredible, and God, Karl Anthony Towns is incredible. And both of them can be such high-level, efficient scorers, and they're flanked by the perimeter defensive unit that had everybody so excited for this team, getting Mikal Bridges to be alongside Anunoby and Josh Hart and all the moves that they make around. And then sometimes it would just all disappear. Like sometimes it was just one of the worst teams that you watched. And they had, the symptom of what the Grizzlies had in the regular season, where you're looking midway through the year and say, who have the Knicks beaten? Can the Knicks beat good teams? And then the playoffs roll around and they get into an absolute fight with the Detroit Pistons and almost don't make it out of the first round. They ultimately have the series against the Celtics where you have 2 20-point comebacks and you have one absolute beatdown. How many points did they win that one game? By 38? Something ridiculous. But then they would look like a pumpkin in other times. And the same thing happens against the Pacers. And to give up game 1 in the fashion that they did, like there definitely is a universe where you're thinking, God, if only the Knicks didn't implode in historic fashion in game 1 against the Pacers, then we very well could and should be looking at a game 7. But the truth is, we didn't. And I think that game 1 will go down as that will be the game that we remember from the 2025 playoffs. And that is a very difficult stink to unstinkify your team of. Like that will represent, you take everything good away almost and say, God, remember when the Knicks blew a 14-point lead in the last 3 minutes, blew a 9-point lead in the last minute of that game and ultimately allowed Tyrese Haliburton to hit him with the choke, and then it went to overtime and they could have made him look silly and they weren't capable of doing that in that. I think that's one of the reasons it's so difficult to look at the Knicks just as a, wow, congratulations, good, you've had incremental progress each year over the last 4 years. You won 51 games, you make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, but instead you're left in this place of, well, are they built to be successful moving forward?
If they had if those 51 wins in regular, if they had to come against more good teams, right? Like if they were beating the good teams in the Eastern Conference and not faltering against them, I think people would feel a bit different about, I think New York fans particularly would feel a bit different about the health of the franchise and of this roster right now. But they came into the playoffs, and that was the tagline. That was the storyline. Was, you brought it up, the Knicks don't beat anybody good. Mm-hmm. And then they get through the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, and they fall here, and that storyline comes back. And because you've already got that feeling about the team, short of a finals appearance and depending on what you do in the finals, right? You couldn't get swept out of the finals. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, this would rear its ugly head again. Short of that, we're going to go right back to that storyline. And the thought is, all right, the Knicks got here. Great. How much of it was fluke? Can they get better? If they can get better, where can they make improvements at? What will it take for them to get better? Do they need a different coach? Do they need to break up some of the pieces on this roster? Is awesome having OG and Bridges and Towns and Brunson and Hart, but could you move off some of them and get more reliable bench production from somebody else? Like what can we do here to make this better? If this was a team, like I said, who had beaten good teams and came into the playoffs with their heads held high and their chests out, we might be having a bit of a different conversation about where this team needs to go. And again, this is a conversation for the July, September, October time frame, but I am also interested to know where the hell you would put the Knicks in a preseason
Right.
sort of thing in the East. Are you putting them ahead of the Tatum-less Celtics? Are you putting them ahead of the Pacers? Are you putting them ahead of the Cavs? Are you putting them? I guess you'll put them ahead of the Magic and the Pistons, but I can't say that with any real certainty right now. Is going to be an interesting offseason for the New York Knicks.
I am intrigued, and I had forgotten how late in the offseason that Karl Anthony Towns trade happened. It was really close to training camp. And so when you think about having to figure out on the fly how he and Jalen Brunson function together, and you saw such an extensive drop-off in pick and roll between those two in the latter half of the season and in the postseason. And sometimes it was just like it was like square peg, round hole. How do we make these two players fit together and also not have such a drop-off defensively where there are some of those deficiencies that come with each of them? And I'm with you. Is there something that can be done from a bench bolstering, which feels like a crazy thing to say because Tom Thibodeau doesn't use his bench, but he did. And I thought that was really important growth from Thibs. Like, if we're given credit, he could have completely stuck to his guns, stayed with his 5, eking into a 6, maybe a 7-man rotation, but he did give that bench some run in those last 2 games. And you saw substantial minutes from Landry Shamet, from DeLon Wright. You saw Josh Hart move to the bench and Mitchell Robinson. Like, there was a real willingness to be flexible that you have not seen with Tom Thibodeau in years past.
It was a desperate coach doing desperate things.
But you know what? At least he did it. Because he could have been a desperate coach who said, I'm not moving my foot, I am in quicksand, and I'm going to sink with my methodology that I have sat on forever. And I am just going to run these players into the ground, and everyone's going to play 40 minutes, and they might die by the end, but we'll all die together. And instead, there was at least a willingness to operate in a different universe. I mentioned that Athletic article. Felt like there was already a small faction of throwing Karl Anthony Towns under the bus as it pertained to that article in The Athletic, which mentioned behind-the-scenes frustrations with Karl Anthony Towns' defensive habits and that he would execute incorrect coverages without communicating why. Communication issues with constructive criticism was like a big theme of that. I mentioned the PJ Tucker players-led meetings. That's why they brought PJ. They had a choice to try to go get someone who could contribute, who would maybe bolster that bench, or somebody who would be the older, we can have tough conversations dude. And they went with that with PJ Tucker. There's all these talks about like the synergy not being the same as last year. And I go back to how late in the offseason the Karl Anthony Towns trade happened. And I think you give them some room. Like, you can jump on, this sounds like an ego problem, or you could have a more rational take, I think, and say, yeah, they had to grow into chemistry, and there were still definitely growth opportunities to be had, and you saw them through the playoffs, and even in this article, it says, like, they got better. There's obviously still a whole lot of room to grow, but I didn't read it from the standpoint that some people did of like, there is friction with Karl Anthony Towns. It was more just like a factual statement of, hey, this might take a little bit more time than what we saw this season. It still got them to the Eastern Conference Finals, but if they want to make more growth forward, it's going to require better communication, primarily between Kat and Jalen Brunson, and then how the rest of the group flames out.
Defense is, we think you just show up and you want to play defense.
Get down.
And that's what makes you a good defender. If you show up and you got a desire to play defense, you should be a pretty good defender. And that's not the case. That's where it starts, absolutely. You can't be good at defense if you don't want to be good at defense. It's just like everything else. You have to be intentional about wanting to be good or great at the thing for you to be good or great at the thing. And the thing right now is defense. But you also got to have the natural talent. You got to also work at it from a skill set standpoint. And you've got to be able to understand up here the mental games that get played and where you need to be mentally on the court for various offensive plays, sets, things of that nature. And it doesn't sound like Karl Anthony Towns fully grasped everything that is required of him on that end of the court for the Knicks team to be an elite defense. And it's not just him. I would be willing to bet you Jalen Brunson. Some people would point out some issues with Jalen Brunson on the perimeter just being in the wrong spot. Now, it sucks that Jalen Brunson is the height that he is. It sucks that Karl Anthony Towns doesn't quite move super well laterally. Like, that's a deficiency that absolutely hinders you on that side of the ball. But you can make up for it because Lou Dort is short. right? You can make up for it by understanding where you're supposed to be on the court on that end of the ball and on that end of the court, excuse me. And that's something that I think another year in the same defensive system would absolutely help both of them get a bit more comfortable doing. And that's why you bring PJ Tucker in to say, hey, PJ, we done said it as coaches. Would you mind saying it as a player? PJ Tucker, Juwan Howard, Udonis Haslem, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You bring those guys in so they can have the conversations that you as a coach can't have, and they can hold people accountable in a way that you can't. And Karl Anthony Towns doesn't have a reason or explanation for being out of position, because I bet you Karl didn't know he was out of position. I bet you Karl Anthony was like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here? Who knew? Who knew? So give it I think I'd give it another year. Now, I could be convinced. I can be convinced. If you can get the right pieces for one of those, and anybody in the starting five, right? If you can get the right pieces for anybody in that starting five and to bolster the bench,
yeah,
and
if
then
you
go to
upgrade
Tibbs,
Shamet and DeLon Wright.
you go to Tibbs and say, hey, Tibbs, 8-man rotation all season.
Yes.
Like at least 8. If 8 dudes ain't touching the court, come February, we're letting you go.
And he goes, sure.
That face Tibbs makes when he's frustrated.
He always looks so
let's go.
frustrated.
Let's go.
They do. I mean, they hindered themselves with the Bridges trade because they gave up 5 firsts for Mikal Bridges. So they're light on the asset train.
I mean, so the only assets they have are the starting
their
five.
dudes.
And did you hinder yourself? Because that's the going rate for a dude who's a piece of a team that gets you to an Eastern Conference final.
Yeah, again, that's the thing. We're having these crazy conversations. They made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I get it, unless you hold the trophy of all trophies at the end of the year, unless you are hoisting up the Larry O'Brien. Like, you view this as how you get better, and you did not achieve the ultimate mission of what you assumed trading 5 firsts for Mikal Bridges. He was supposed to get you that one, right? So anything short of that is a failure, but we do sometimes get in the weeds too much with this. I think the Knicks, I'm sure we will hear about the Knicks and what they will do over and over for the rest of the summer. Will they go out and get Giannis Antetokounmpo? Guess what? I bet that conversation is already being had on some sports show this morning.
Listen, the Pelicans have said that everybody on their roster is available.
Yeah, they're like, please.
So if you
please take Zion Williamson and all of his allegations.
Anybody,
with us.
if you're in, they're done with that. If you're anybody who's looking to upgrade your roster, I mean, I think you could start by sniffing around New Orleans and say, hey, what do you guys want? What are you guys looking for? Or don't even give them the option. Hey, this is what we want, and this is what we'll give you for it. Talk to me. And then if you're another team, you might sniff around New York and say, oh, y'all need to improve your bench. I mean, like, there are players around. I don't want to say anybody's names or anything like that because I don't want to get in trouble for tampering, but there are players around that could say, hey, man, maybe we do a sign trade. Maybe we can pick it like a Mitchell Robinson or something like that. Maybe we can go get somebody like that.
You want to know how we'll know that Thibs has changed?
How?
If he comes in next season and he shaved it off.
The hair?
Yep.
It's time.
It's time, my bad.
It's time.
It's time.
He's got an odd shaped head.
Yeah, well, that happens.
He does. So maybe he gets
you think he's protecting the odd-shaped head?
What shape would you say
with
the head
little
is?
jelly hairs?
What shape of head?
I don't know.
Is
I focus too much on the little jelly hairs. No shame.
It's an odd.
I'm just saying. I think you could just go straight
ovular.
bald.
No, he can't. No, Tibbs cannot. He cannot go straight bald. Go get the plugs, man. You got off season. Go get the plugs and call it a day. Maybe put a little shoe polish in it. That's what my people do.
We just casually mentioned Zion Williamson, and I don't even have it in the rundown for today because I don't know what to do with that man at this point. Doesn't it feel like the Zion Williamson saga has been 15 years long at this point?
What is new about this one?
This is a different.
This is not Mariah Mills.
This is not Mariah Mills, but now she is allegedly popping in with a lawsuit of her own. No, this is a very serious.
Okay, I don't believe anything Mariah Mills has to say.
Sure, fine.
All right, but this is somebody
believe
different.
all women except Mariah Mills, but
except
believe
Mariah
women
Mills
and
as it pertains to
the
Zion.
allegations from this lawsuit for Zion Williamson are not good. Not good.
He'll play.
But where? That is the question.
Charlotte.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll come back. Gary Parrish is going to join us on the other side. There are, of course, already people who are screaming, crying, throwing up that it's Thunder Pacers. And oh no, what will the TV executives have to say about this matchup? I look forward to getting Gary's take on what to look forward to in Thunder Pacers. We'll also get his take on the end of NBA on TNT, which came to its conclusion over the weekend. We'll catch up with GP after a quick break.
Grizzlies fans know it's the team that gives you the edge. Big River Steel does too. And much like the Grizzlies have recruited legendary talent, we want you to be part of our team. Are you ready to be part of something legendary? Then visit www.bigriversteel.com. That's www.bigriversteel.com.
Let's face it, there's a lot of trash talk in basketball, but the great teams let their performance do the talking. Like Ford F-150 with Pro Power on board, a class-exclusive industry-first feature that turns your truck into a mobile generator and leaves the competition speechless. Ford F-150, official truck of the Grizzlies. Greatness starts here at your Mid-South Ford dealer. Class is full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds, GVWR.
You've seen the Grizz line jamming on the court and rocking out on Beale Street, and this is your chance to join the best drum line in the NBA. Grizz line entertains Grizz Nation at home games and events in the Mid-South through their impressive techniques and energetic shows. If you have experience in drumming and marching and love entertaining, Grizz line is the perfect opportunity for you to combine percussion and performance. Open auditions are Saturday, August 9th at FedEx Forum. Sign up today by visiting grizzlies.com/auditions.
1, 2, 3. Ready, go.
Dance Kid Dance Tour. Live in Memphis. FedEx Forum, Saturday, August 30th. With special guests, Bush and Morgan Wade. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Shinedown, live in concert. For more, visit shinedown.com.
CP the franchise. Do we hate the Pacers?
Of course. I hate Haliburton. I hate Reggie. I hate the Pacers. I hope.
Yeah, where does Haliburton rank?
Is he
where's he ranked?
Yeah, is there potential for him to be more hated than Reggie by the end of this series?
If you start flipping y'all off, for sure.
Yes. Well, first of all, they're built the same. They damn near look the same. You know what I mean? He's like reincarnated Reggie Miller.
The Chris Vernon Show, live on weekdays at noon on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Jalen Wells is in studio right now. You took on tough, if not the toughest defensive assignment. When did you realize that would be your role?
And that's what I was working towards since training camp. I was trying to guard Dez. I was trying to guard Ja whenever I could, even if they're blowing by me, overpowering me. I really didn't care, because I was a rookie. So it's like, that's what's going to happen to a rookie.
The Gary Parrish Show, live on weekdays at 10 a.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
What should the Grizzlies take away from this Western Conference Finals matchup?
The Grizzlies need more quality depth. Not just depth, quality depth.
Well, what the Memphis Grizzlies can learn and take away from the Western Conference Finals is you can't talk about it, you got to be about it.
Hey, Grizzlies fans, be sure to tune in to GrizzBeat, where the panel and I break down all things Grizzlies and take a look at the rest of the NBA as well. The show is live every Wednesday, 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Welcome back. It is Monday. That means it's time to catch up with Gary Parrish, host of the Gary Parrish Show, weekday mornings at 10 a.m. on Grind City Media. He joins us now. GP.
How are you?
Good to see you.
It's good to see you again.
I saw you Friday night.
Did we? We acted like real friends and coworkers and stuff, didn't we?
Yeah, that's so wild.
Wasn't that something?
When the group plan chats with you, me, and Bennett finally made it out of the chat and into Italian Fest.
How about that?
It was my first time at Italian Fest, and it was nothing like I expected.
What did you expect and what did you encounter?
I expected Italians.
Okay.
Step one.
It is kind of low on Italians, if I'm being honest.
I'm unsure. I don't want to misidentify anyone that I spoke to at Italian Fest. I don't think I spoke to one Italian. However, I had some great Italian food.
That's right.
I ended up having some great food from your friends.
That's right.
I had some orzo after that.
I like
chicken
orzo.
And then I had a barbecue spaghetti plate at the end of the night, which definitely is not Italian, but is definitely Memphis Italian Fest.
I'll take
and it
it.
was perfection. I thought it was just going to be like a collection of vendors and like some small family-run tents who do a bunch of Italian food. And I don't know. I did not expect Barbecue Fest Light of
It's Barbecue Fest
the
Light.
east side
It
of
can turn
Memphis.
into a party.
Yes.
I've had parties there. This was not
I see that.
This was more of a family experience for me. As you know, my little guys were out there.
Yes.
So we did more of the family thing this time. But rewind 25 years.
Yeah.
Did we ever have parties at the Italian Festival? Did we ever lose girlfriends and both pick up girlfriends at the Italian Festival? Yeah, we've done all that stuff.
Yeah, we drove. That was dumb. We should have
Yeah.
just taken an Uber, and so we had to cut ourselves off.
I understand.
Because we are safe, responsible people, and Chris is driving a rental car,
Yeah.
so he's got to be, especially, and for the record, no sign of Chris's car yet. Sorry, should have led with that
you'll
here
never
today.
see that again.
It's gone. But I could see how it could turn into a big party, and it was very fun, but it was wild, and it's not Italians. It's just another festival. Memphis loves a festival.
We like
I don't think I've
festivals.
ever lived somewhere, or I don't think I'm familiar with another place that is as festival heavy as Memphis. And CJ always starts it in April with Africa in April. But once that starts, it's festival, up until you get to, I guess, when it's too hot to festivalize.
If you want to drink outside
You have a
around other
spot.
people, you're going to have a spot.
Yeah.
It feels like pretty much every weekend, and Italian Fest is among the best. Shouts to Mama B and Danny's. That's my buddy Scott's team. They took care of all of us. We had a wonderful time. And then shouts to 901 Goats. We ended up hanging out with
Love the
goats all
goats.
night.
You were hanging out with the goats. I was somehow having another beer and a plate of barbecue spaghetti. We had different lives, but your kids loved the goats.
I will tell you, there were different parts of, I don't know what to even think of goat therapy. Like, I don't know how I feel about it. But it apparently is a thing.
There's goat yoga.
The goat
That's
yoga.
Big. Goat yoga is big.
And there's also goat therapy, I think.
Like dog therapy, I assume.
Right. And I don't know how I feel about that exactly, mostly because I haven't put much thought into it. But I will tell you this. There were moments on Friday night where both of my little guys were upset for reasons that make no sense to anybody other than little guys.
And
okay?
the goats cured them.
They were as happy as they could be with these goats. The entire time we were with the goats, they could not have been happier. Big smiles. Like we
Did
even
they bleep?
Did they?
Or what do they do? Bleat?
I don't.
Do goats bleat?
I,
What sound does
if
a
you
goat
shoot
make?
them,
I think they
if
bleat.
you shoot them, they'll bleed. If you shoot them, they'll bleed, just like anybody else.
No, not bleed. Bleat.
Yeah,
I think that's the sound that a goat makes. CJ, what sound does a goat make? It's a bleat.
Okay, I didn't know. I
think that's part of the goat therapy. I think their sound.
These goats seem pretty quiet.
Okay.
These goats.
They're
seemed,
mute goats.
They, I don't know that they're mute, but they were pretty quiet.
Okay.
Like even Kelly made the point that she was like, "Look at Oliver. Look how happy he is. Look at that expression on his face." Because
Do your kids like animals regularly?
Yes, and especially Oliver.
Okay.
Like Oliver is like we have rankings in our house of like who everybody likes, including our dog Luca.
Yeah.
And Kelly wins all the rankings. Everybody likes Kelly more than they like anybody else, and that's just true.
That's just a marriage.
It's just true across the board.
Yeah.
Her family likes her more. My family likes her more. Her friends like her more.
Your children like her more.
Everybody likes her more. All right. I just accepted that.
Okay.
So Kelly wins all the rankings, but second with the Luca rankings, Oliver. Luca will go to Oliver, and then it's Lou, and then I'm always last at these things. I'm sort of an afterthought with Luca, but Oliver is really good with him.
Yeah.
And Luca seems to understand that, and so Oliver they both love pets. And Louis tried to buy a goat. He was offering $3,000. I don't know where he thought he was.
Where'd he get the $3,000?
I don't know where he thought he was going to get $3,000, but that is what he told.
Seems a little steep for a goat.
I thought so too. I was like,
I don't know what the going rate is.
I was like, but
I'm no
think,
farmer.
I don't know. I don't think you know how to negotiate.
You could use it for milk. Raw milk's all the rage right now. I think you could have goat milk and goat cheese. I love goat cheese.
As long as
maybe top tier of my cheeses.
As long as Kroger stays
you don't need
existing,
a goat.
I'm just going to get my milk
All
from
right.
Kroger. I'm not
That's
going to mess
fair.
around with it with a goat. But he was offered $3,000. I don't know where he thought he was going to get that money, but it was his starting price. Or I think he was willing to go up there. And then he was told there's like a 3-year waiting period to even purchase a goat. And I was like, buddy, we live in Mississippi. We could probably get a goat in like 15 minutes. Like, just let me sit.
Just walk down the street.
Yeah, just like let's go in the back.
There's gonna be one.
in the field
Somebody's
behind
gotta
us.
get a goat.
100% there's a goat within a 2-mile radius of my house. 100%.
Okay.
So we just, and then we started doing, like, this is a real thing that happened. We started doing all the Google searches, and turns out it's probably going to be against our HOA to have a goat. I don't think they're going to allow it.
I hate when the HOA gets in the way of a good time, especially when I just want to go.
Yeah, I was actually very appreciative of the HOA being against goats because it gives me an out.
An easy paperwork reason why.
It gives me an out and might actually save me $3,000, you know?
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a good Friday night. It was good to see you and Chris. We had a blast.
Thanks. It was fun. It was very fun.
It was exactly as I anticipated, which is I would not go on my own.
Yeah.
There's nothing that I wanted to go experience other than if I didn't go, I felt like I was letting somebody down. I felt like, hey, if I don't go, I won't be a good friend. So I need to show up for my friend. That was my motivating factor. But as predicted, I said, once I'm there, I'll be like, this is a good time. I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it was.
You never know who you know, which is always such a fun thing. Like, it was great being with you. And then we ended up going to, shout out to our friend Tia. And ended up back with her. And then Will Coleman swept in. And he's like, I'll show you some. That's where we got the barbecue spaghetti. Yeah. And next thing we know, we were around. And he's the tallest guy at the entire event. So he was easy to find regularly.
Will Coleman a mile away.
Yeah. But it was good. And it's just.
It's good to see people.
It's a fun thing. I saw a lot of people out and about in Memphis. I'm back on my soapbox. Yes, my husband's car got stolen, but by God, I love this city and everything that you can do in it. And it felt like a very active weekend. I saw a lot of people were out at the Shell over the weekend. There was trolley night on Friday. I love when people are having a good time in the city of Memphis.
I do too, and I don't do that very often anymore.
Right, you're a homebody.
You could argue not enough. I don't do that enough, but I like it when I'm doing it. I don't ever want to do it.
Yes.
But once I'm doing it, I'm like, man, it was good to see so-and-so. And it was good to see Tia. And it was like, just sort of worlds collide. Like, here's Chris's coworker. Is that right?
Former coworker.
But then somebody I know from a million years ago, like in a totally different world. So I like that stuff.
Yep.
And then even in the booth, I see like a childhood friend who had moved off to Florida and he had come back just for this.
That's the crazy thing for you guys. And like Chris and I had to witness that always at a barbecue fest or at an Italian fest or whatever it may be, or a Greek fest. Shout out Giannis Antetokounmpo. Don't forget, we have one of those here. Just the community of people who have been here for a long time and then see a childhood friend. Like, we can't imagine that. Like, we don't have a world where we really go back to our hometown in a way where we would even I find when I go back to Highlands Ranch, Colorado, I'll go to like a Target or a Safeway, and occasionally I'll see someone that I went to high school with. And I've been gone for so long, it would be weird for me to say something. Like, we look at each other, I'm pretty sure we're friends on Facebook, and then we both are just like, all right, and we're out.
I oddly don't get that a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I don't run into people I went to high school with too often. But like, this was like literally childhood best friend type stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up on Ridgetop. He grew up on Ridgetop. He's a year older than me. I hadn't seen him in a long time. And you just walk up, and I didn't even know he was going to be there, if I'm being honest. And I just gave him a big hug and told him I love him. It was good to see him. I like stuff like that.
We have an NBA Finals matchup. We don't get game one until Thursday, but it is Pacers Thunder. And immediately, you already heard the echoes of, the TV executives have to hate this matchup. And my question remains, as always, for the people who are saying, are you a TV executive?
Right.
Like, does your bottom line depend on who makes the NBA Finals? Like, are you responsible for the merchandise sales associated with the NBA Finals? I don't understand why people who I assume are actual basketball fans, because they're tapped in enough to know who is going to the NBA Finals, then have the take of, God, the TV executives have to hate this.
Yeah, I think it's just an easy thing to say.
Sure.
Because you've heard it for so long, so it's just like, ooh, this isn't going to be great for the networks.
Right.
But you're exactly right. Unless you're Adam Silver or running ABC, why does it matter much to you?
Right.
I can tell you, as somebody who works for a television network, the network executives do sweat this stuff.
It's like when Cinderellas make the Final Four. It's good for the story and it's horrible for eyeballs.
You take my bosses, you know what they want? George Mason, win your first game. It's fine. But get out of here after that.
Give me Duke, UNC,
every year,
Kansas,
give me
Kentucky,
Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, and Kansas. And the executives are thrilled. Some combination of that. Like, you can even see this on a college basketball schedule throughout the season. Because unlike football, these college basketball schedules get made in July, August, and it does not matter how the season unfolds. If Memphis against Wichita State is slotted for ESPNU, Memphis could be ranked number 1 in the country. Wichita State could be ranked number 2 in the country. By the time we get to that game, it's going to be on ESPNU. It's just, all that stuff's set. So here's what I mean. You'll turn on a random Saturday in February, and it might be a top 10 matchup of A10 teams. and that will be on Peacock or whatever.
Tubi.
But right, but like Purdue against Michigan is going to be on CBS, and it doesn't matter if they're both unranked. And guess what? We'll do the bigger number. Purdue gets brands. Yes. Brands matter in college athletics more than anything else. In the NBA, it is a lot of market size and stars. So no, I'm confident if you want to be somebody who's doing 20-minute segments on, this isn't great for the networks. I mean, you're rooted in reality. Yeah. It's not great for the networks. I just don't personally care. I want to watch compelling, fun basketball. And I think this isn't what I would have, if I could pencil it in, this isn't what I would have penciled in. But once it's here, I can talk myself into it. And Tyrese Haliburton's he's doing it. Like he is a household name among basketball people now, young and old. This Pacers team is fun. It will be a fun finals unless it gets lopsided.
You want to know what has helped Tyrese Haliburton's name recognition tremendously? The What the Helly song. What the Helly? What the Haliburton? Your son was singing it over and over. You don't know that song?
I don't. I'm not familiar with that.
What the Helly Berry? You know that song, CJ. No. Everybody is singing that song. I was at a pool party. Okay, well, a lot of people are singing that song because I was at a pool party.
Where do you find this? Is this a TikTok thing?
Probably. Jacob knows it, doesn't he? CJ, please tell me Jacob knows the What the Helly song.
Nobody knows it.
Yes,
Jacob
you do.
Jacob knows it. Jacob knows it. He's not singing it.
Jess, you're a little too online.
Jacob knows it.
You're a little too online.
Okay.
So
no.
how does it go? How does it go?
What everybody, you mean tell you what everybody knows. Everybody knows mustard. That's what everybody knows.
What the
this
Helly?
Is a different level of
what
something.
What the Hellion? What the Helly Berry? What the Helly Burton? What the Helly Cyrus?
I mean, I'm aware that this exists
Okay,
somewhere.
so now you're aware.
Like,
Jacob's aware. I'm being called chronically online despite giving up Twitter 2 weeks ago, and I'm really riding hard on that.
Are you off Twitter?
For the most part.
Okay.
I'm on it on my work computer. I don't get on it on my phone anymore. It's a really horrible place, and I actually feel like I'm a more, I don't want to get on the, like, everybody should get off Twitter stand that I had.
No, but you, like, if you don't need it, you should.
No, it's a waste of time. I spend a lot of time.
Well, it's definitely a waste of time.
Here's why I find it a waste versus how I'm trying to consume news and stories and analysis differently. I go and I read full articles. I don't need so-and-so giving me their opinion in a 240-character tweet when I can go read a full article and then come up with my own opinions on what I have just read.
I do find myself mindlessly scrolling it still.
And I don't take anything in my brain.
And it is a massive waste of time. I gain nothing from it other than sometimes, if I'm being fair, like there's funny stuff. Sometimes you run into funny stuff. And that is like why my job, my career is why I won't delete it. But I also enjoy the funny stuff.
Yes, and Chris loves, we send each other DMs. This has actually taken a part of our relationship and caused some strife because we normally are sending DMs to each other all day, and now it's very heavy on him sending to me, and I'm not really sending anything because I'm working now. When I'm on Twitter, like I'm combing for things that I need for the show. I have a true purpose of being there, as opposed to if I'm standing in line, the number of times that I just go straight to Twitter, like you can go on your screen time, and it shows you the first app that you go to the most.
Right.
And for me, for weeks,
it
was Twitter.
Yeah.
And you don't even, the mindlessness of it, the addiction of it.
Yes, it's very much an addiction thing. It's like you pick up a cigarette just because you're so used to picking up a cigarette. Yes. You open Twitter. Like there'll be times it's like, I will literally be writing and I'll say, I've got to close Twitter so I'm not distracted by it. And without even realizing I'm doing it, 45 seconds later, I hit Twitter again. I can't help it. So, but
all that said, what the helly? Not just a Twitter song. I was at a pool party and everyone was screaming, "What the helly? What the Haliburton?" And people, like my friends, women who do not consume sports in any way, shape, or form, like I do. Some at least are interested enough, but would not be singing a song about Tyrese Haliburton. And it's not a song about Tyrese Haliburton. He's just mentioned in it, and it has turned it into a like, well, what do you think about the Pacers? And this was Saturday before Game 6. And next thing you know, a group of women are talking about Pacers-Knicks Game 6. And granted, it helps that like Kylie Jenner's there and the whole Timothée Chalamet situation. But I was very impressed by the familiarity that the Indiana Pacers have thanks to Tyrese
However
Haliburton.
you become more famous is fine with me.
Sure.
Undeniably, he is becoming much more famous.
Yes.
I think I told you last week we were shooting hoops and Lou took a jumper and it hit the back of the rim and went up and came back through and he immediately hit me with the choke sign. Now, he was I don't know if he was unfamiliar with the Reggie Miller choke sign 2 weeks ago.
That'll be his choke sign now, though.
I feel like that for real. And obviously, once this is the way at least my kids live. they just see all this stuff on YouTube, and then they know more about things than I know about them. So they see the Haliburton thing in real life. They think that's hilarious and a great moment. Then they're on the YouTube on their iPads, and it's everywhere. And then that takes them to Reggie Miller. And next thing you know, they're like, "Dad, did you realize it was the final 30 seconds?" And they know more. They now know more about the Reggie Miller thing than I actually remember. And so these are the way these things happen.
Yes.
And so I don't know exactly how we got here, but Tyrese Haliburton he is a famous basketball player now in a way that he wasn't a month ago.
And there are edits, there are TikTok edits, there are YouTube short edits, there are Instagram edits with the song "What the Helly," and he's doing the choke. So it all goes hand in hand. But no, I'm genuinely compelled about this matchup. I'm excited for it. I'm curious if the Pacers can do anything to stop the inevitability that it feels as if the Oklahoma City Thunder have kind of thrust themselves into this postseason. And from a Grizzlies standpoint and a Memphis standpoint, I think it's cool to see two small market teams, market 47 and 25, represented in the NBA Finals. And the way that those teams were built is something that is attainable. It is moving out of this world where the Grizzlies could never chase the big three superstar trying to attract free agents to come and compete for the Memphis Grizzlies. But what they can do is try to replicate what these two teams have done, serving below the luxury tax and having a well-built out team that now is competing for a title.
That's right. Like in Major League Baseball, the Pirates have no chance of winning. Like it's just, the system does not allow for them to win, given that they have an owner who's not willing to just throw money around everywhere. The Dodgers exist, the Yankees exist, the Mets exist. You can't compete. Paul Skeens will not retire in Pittsburgh. He'll probably be traded out of there once they realize we'll never be able to afford this guy. Just Barry Bonds did not retire in Pittsburgh. Bobby Bonilla did not retire in Pittsburgh. This is the way some sports can go. Baseball, obviously. In the NBA, you're exactly right. Like if Oklahoma City had a baseball team, they might not be in a position to compete. If Indianapolis had a Major League Baseball team, they might not be in a position to compete. But you can compete in this sport for all of the reasons that are well documented. And I'm with you. It can be not inspiring, but like something to grab onto if you're a Grizzlies fan. Hey, why not us type of thing? And then beyond that, you're not just watching the Pacers and the Thunder in the NBA Finals. You're watching a 50-win Pacers team. You won 48. So we have all these conversations once you get swept out by OKC, like how far away are you? And as we've talked about before, like if the question is, you go to Google Maps and you do the thing. It's like, how far are you away from Oklahoma City in basketball terms? Hit click, a long ways.
Right.
You're going to have to fill up with gas and probably stop and get more gas. It's going to take you a minute to catch that. But how far are you away from the Pacers? Really? I mean, the regular season tells us two games, 2 wins. And that was with Ja not playing a lot.
How far were you from the Timberwolves?
There
if you want to bring it back to the
There
West.
you go. Yeah. And so, that's the stuff I would be holding on to here. And as far as the actual finals, it will be fun as long as it doesn't get lopsided. And it might get lopsided. But I think if we're trying to make this as interesting as we can make it, let the Pacers steal one in Oklahoma City. However they do it. Just make it go 1-1.
Oh, so you're saying they should rig it?
Yes, they should definitely do that. Just like the lottery.
Just like everything.
Just like everything in the whole world. Everything in the whole world.
One giant conspiracy. So if everything's a conspiracy, why not let the Pacers get one in OKC?
I mean, what's one more?
Yeah.
What's one more? But the most compelling thing we could get is 1-1 going back to downtown Indianapolis. Because if it's 2-0, then you'll hear a bunch of people say, series doesn't start till the road team wins or home team loses or whatever, and we'll have that.
We'll say it.
But then it'll be either 3-0 or 2-1, and then it'll likely go.
And
OKC,
so on and so forth. The most likely outcome.
If OKC wins the first 2, it's going to feel like we know exactly where we're going in 4 or 5 games. I want the Thunder to sweep it out because I'm like tied to the idea that I told you they could do this, but just in terms of making it compelling,
you want to be proved right.
I always want. I root for me to be right. More than anything else in this world. When I say things, I want them to be right, and then I attach my everything to it. That's what I'm after. But if we're trying to have compelling finals, let's split these first 2 somehow.
Saturday's game was the last for NBA on TNT. And I don't know why that was the first time it really struck me that all I have known is the NBA on TNT for the entirety of my existence. And as an NBA fan, Inside the NBA has been the most consistent program associated with a sport outside of College Game Day and Inside the NBA.
Sure.
Both sit in similar spaces. For me, I thought Ernie closed it out in typical, wonderful Ernie fashion. Sure. I thought Shaq closed it out in typical, wonderful Shaq fashion by saying his departing message to ESPN was, "They're not coming to F around." Right. What did that mean to you?
I don't know. It was actually perfect for that show that it got all messy at the end.
Yeah, it represented
It
why we
represents
love
what the
it.
show is,
Yes.
because it's just messy. Me being the way my mind, I would have preferred, just let Ernie have this moment, and because he'll deliver it perfectly. He meets those moments really well.
Yeah.
And he's just a sweetheart of a man. I don't know if you've ever met him or been around him, but like he is as he seems.
Mm-hmm.
He is just.
CJ says he should get a biopic someday.
He has an amazing life story.
Exactly. I know he does, but we cannot be so overgenerous with biopics.
Well, pick somebody else who doesn't get one.
No,
Ernie
but
gets a
like,
biopic.
I think CJ's right. You wouldn't be doing the Ernie Johnson story strictly because he's a famous broadcaster,
No,
as
it's
much
his family
as
story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an incredible.
We had it on, was it on Outside the Lines that they did it?
I've seen some version of it.
fantastic.
He's just a.
It might have been a 30 for 30 even.
I've been
Or
lucky enough
like
to
the
work
small shorts.
to work with him a
Yeah.
little, and I'm around him a lot
Yeah.
during March because we're in the same building and we're meeting each other in the halls and stuff. And like the first time I ever worked, like Selection Sunday, I go down to Atlanta to be on that. The selection show that year was half of it in New York, half of it in Atlanta. They sent me down there to be the college basketball guy to work with Ernie and Charles and Kenny, and it was like, wow,
Yeah.
like that's a moment.
Yeah.
And everybody was so awesome, but Ernie had this moment where he was like, hey, come with me for a second. And like took me into his office and was like, closed the door and was like, so where are you from? He just wanted to know my story and just talk and just the sweet, the things I never take the time to do for people who might look to me and for something. It's not in me to just be like, come sit down with me for, I mean, I have these moments, but that was just really sweet.
Yeah.
And then every time I see him, he's just the nicest man. And I had no doubt that he would meet that moment, and he did. And then it just got all goofy.
But I love the yin and the yang of it.
Yeah.
That's what Shaq is talking about. And that's the stuff that people like is when it gets messy. And if the ESPN, we're going to see ESPN has the finals, right? We're going to see what an ESPN basketball thing looks like if you hadn't watched it. Everybody's going to be tuned into it. And it's very regimented. It's very structured. We got to hit these breaks. And if you're not allowing them, that show, to come over and do that show, if you're going to try and contain it in some sort of a way, it's not going to work. And then you've got big personalities over there who, and we've seen ESPN fumble about with big personalities. They are doing so right now with Pat McAfee. If you're not going to do right by that show and let that show be what that show is, get ready for another situation at ESPN where big personalities are run off.
That's right. My understanding of that, though, is that they know this.
Yeah.
And it was very important to Charles specifically that, like, I don't want this cameraman losing his job.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want this stage manager losing her job. And so my understanding, and fact check me if I'm wrong here, but it's basically going to be shot the same way with the same people. If you could think of it as, and this is old school television stuff, but think of it as we're gonna do this show, and then we're gonna deliver it to you, and then you just play it.
Yes. But I think the question is when? Like, when do they play it? For one, so much of Inside the NBA has been coming out of a game, right? And ESPN has so much more rigid structure of sometimes a game leads into another sports game. Like, I saw somebody point out that it's different from Inside the NBA, one, being able to go on after every game. Two, if it's going long, you're more often than not able to punt on whatever rerun of whatever show was airing on TNT. With ESPN, there's more of a structure. And then on top of that, something I had not even begun to thought about or to think about was Scott Van Pelt's Sports Center is one of their flagship programs. And Scott Van Pelt is one of their voices. And as somebody who is a massive SVP fan, he gets those post-game moments. He gets those walk-off
And
interviews.
he's gonna get
so
fewer of
where
them.
does Inside the NBA fit in all of this?
I would assume all of this has been discussed. Like, none of these questions we have.
No, we're not. They're not like watching this show
You're
and
going,
they're
"Oh,
like,
wow,
God,
we
that
didn't
show
think
in
of that."
Memphis that I've never heard of had a really great point that we hadn't thought about.
Have we thought about it? They've thought of all this
Yes.
stuff. And I promise you, not everybody's happy about every
Right, but that's
decision
where I'm so
being
curious
made.
of what it is.
I would assume they're going to have the NBA on ESPN a lot of nights.
Yeah.
And it will not be the the NBA on TNT crew every night because they don't want to work that much.
No, then that's the big thing
That's
too.
the thing,
They
right.
don't want to become a part of the ESPN car wash.
Yeah.
I would imagine within their contracts, within the agreement of them coming over, and I don't want to assume, you never know, but they are not signing up to do what Stephen A. Smith does.
No.
They are not signing up to do what Brian Windhorst does.
No.
They are not going to appear on Morning Sports Center, on Get Up, on the pregame, on everything else. They will have their crew doing their show in whatever time slots they've been
That's
allotted.
right. Charles has said for years, like when people would be like, have you ever thought about going to ESPN? He's like, I don't want to work that much. Like I like what I do when I do it as little as I do it.
Yes.
And so I think they'll still you will have nights where you go, okay, 30 minutes pregame, here's here's Shaq and Kenny and Charles. And then postgame, here's Shaq and Kenny and Charles, and they'll get to Scott after that. And then there'll be other nights where it's Stephen A. and Michael Wilbon pregame, and then postgame they'll go straight to SVP, and it'll just be everybody's going to have
What
to
we're
share
used
this.
to.
Everybody's and
It does feel like such a critical time, and this has been long talked about, but even with Pacers Thunder and what it means from a familiarity of names and moving on from the stars that have dominated for the past decades, and I'm not moving on, but like LeBron James is phasing out, Steph Curry is going to be phasing out, you know, people that have become synonymous with the NBA, there has to be this room for this next generation, which a lot of the criticism towards NBA media has been they haven't done a good enough job of telling the stories outside of the biggest markets. I mean, even this morning, like, what's the focus on? Not that the Pacers made the finals.
Knicks.
It's what do the Knicks do next?
Right.
And so how this next iteration between NBA on NBC, everything that happens with ESPN and ABC moving forward, like, it feels like there's a great responsibility for them to figure out how to do it better and how to do it better immediately.
Right. You know, I'm sure like some of the ESPN people don't like any of this.
Probably.
Right? It'd be like the NBA is your thing, Malika, and now not so much.
Now it's a lot of people's thing.
Right. Now it's a lot of people's thing, and you're not even the main one anymore. So I haven't had these conversations with these people, but I know how I know how these things work, and I know when people get bothered. I'm sure there are people who are bothered, but the truth is ESPN has had years to try to figure out how to nail that show, and they've just never done it.
Yeah.
I mean, and like all of those people are like Malika's.
They're all really talented people.
Malika,
the show just doesn't work.
Like Malika's great. I mean this sincerely. If I had a television network, I would try to hire her.
Yeah.
She's incredible.
Yeah.
Windhorst is awesome, like great on TV. They've got great people. For whatever reason, they have never been able to capture what it is they were clear, what it is TNT got and what it is they were after. They've never, I think even they would tell you, we've never figured out how to make it work.
Yeah.
Evidence being that they switch up the characters all the time.
Yes.
But it's never popped right.
Yeah, and it's
if
an
it would've ever popped-
NBA specific thing because it does pop right for College Game Day.
Yeah.
And even adding Pat McAfee to that group, there were some people who were skeptical of it, but you want to know what?
Yeah,
it worked.
It works. And like apparently everything with McAfee works.
Apparently.
But like that works. And the NBA stuff has never worked. And so if I were an NBA executive dealing with some bruised egos in the nicest way possible, I would say there was another alternative reality where we didn't need them because we had this figured out and we were so good and people were like, don't take them off TV for anybody. But that's not what people are saying. People are saying, get these other people on TV, and so here we are.
I have one final very important question for you.
Yes, of course.
Viral story from the weekend. There's a TikTok video with over 30 million views of a Delta flight that was, according to the poster, delayed for 2 hours on the ground and then was forced to circle Orlando before landing for another 2 hours. So you're delayed 2 hours on the ground.
Gotcha.
You're then in the sky, an additional 2 on top of what the flight was supposed to be. The flight crew at this time allows a little girl to get on the microphone. No, we can't be doing that. On the speaker system. Takes over your head. You're watching a movie? Too bad.
Yeah.
That speaker system's coming through your headphones. And this little girl saying, how far I'll go from Moana. No. I will not show the video because this poor child has become excessively hated on the internet. What would you do in this situation?
Put my AirPods in. I would do the exact thing I keep to myself. I'm a great passenger. I keep to myself. I'm not bothering anybody. I'm not trying to chat you up.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you look like, I'm not trying to chat you up. I'm in my own little world. So this would not bother me. I would actually probably smile if it made the little girl smile. Like, I'm a dad.
You're a nice person.
I can appreciate that.
You're not part of this cold world of those of us who said, oh my God, I'd throw myself out of this plane if this happened to me.
I'm pretty good at just ignoring things around me.
Yeah.
You know? Like I'm pretty good at just give me a drink, give me my AirPods, and
you're good.
I can.
You're also probably in a comfy seat because you're a million miler.
Yeah, usually I'm gonna be all right.
You're not sitting by the toilet having to listen to this girl sing Moana.
No, I am not. I hope not, at least. So it wouldn't bother me. But broadly speaking, travel can be stressful for people anyway. It's especially stressful when you've been on a runway for 2 hours, circling for 2 hours. You're probably missing connections. Orlando, you got families late to getting to Disney World. Like at that point.
So they brought Disney to the plane.
At that point, I'd be like, man, maybe we just need to, let's not add another variable of agitation to this.
I know.
But would it bother, do I understand why it would bother other people? Yes, particularly for the reason you said. I wouldn't be watching, I don't usually watch the TVs on the thing, other than I'll have it on a game mute, but I'm usually gonna be on my phone.
Imagine if you were watching a critical moment of a game. I hadn't even thought of that scenario.
Yeah, or of a movie that you're watching, like let's say
the movie can be paused, the game cannot.
Yeah, but if let's say you're 2 hours invested in this movie,
True. Critical moment.
And let's say you got 40 minutes till you're on the ground, but 35 minutes left.
Yeah.
And these pauses are going to make you not see the end of that would be irritating on some level.
Yeah.
So I understand completely why some would be bothered. I personally would maybe not even have noticed it happened.
My first instinct is I hate singing on planes. This is not the first time I have seen somebody decide to sing on a plane. Like there are times where, like I saw one time someone brought out their guitar.
Yeah, I don't
and
know
started singing. I forget what it was, but they were stuck and they thought they were making a stressful situation better for everybody. Your music, your amateur music, unless you are Beyonce herself flying commercial for whatever godforsaken reason.
If you pull out a guitar on a plane, you better be, Paul McCartney.
One of the top celebrities.
You better give me a
that
great
I would
story
want
out
to
of
hear
this.
sing. Exactly.
Don't be the dude who does a singer-songwriter night in Midtown.
Or the people who try to get it to be like a sing-along on the way. Like during the Eras tour, you would see these planes where a bunch of Taylor Swift fans would all realize they were on the same plane. And next thing you know, they're doing the 8th chorus of You Belong With Me. And you're just like, wow, this is the worst time of my life. But I do think we've gotten so cynical to the point where like the hate for this child is so incredible. Hate her parents all you want.
Yeah.
Like they're the ones who put her in this situation, or the flight crew, whatever that may be. But the kid didn't do it. I hope that I hope this builds a great sense of humor because it makes an awesome story for her when she's an adult. Like you can be like, oh, I had this horrific moment on a plane. Like I'm so embarrassing. Haha. Or this could ruin her forever.
I'm gonna go with the former rather than the latter.
That's a nicer way to put it.
I will say this, as a parent, if you want some other parents, you want some advice on how to handle situations like this, your kids are almost never as funny or talented or any of the stuff that as you think they are.
Yes.
I understand you think little Susie is the funniest little girl in the world or the greatest little singer in the world or the cutest little thing you've ever seen. But to other people, she's probably not.
Social media has ruined this.
Yes.
Because a lot of young kids go viral and then families make their entire lives revolve around the social media.
And you got other families chasing it. And then you got other families chasing it. Right?
And just because one moment goes viral does not mean that your child is the funniest or the best singer or what. And I'm not saying they're not either. I am. Fine, CJ is. They could be very talented, but not everybody wants to see them. But now those lines are blurred because suddenly you have these family accounts with like millions of followers, and you're like, oh, my kid is just as talented as this nobody.
So then you're chasing that thing.
Yes.
There are families right now, there is a mom or a dad or both right now sitting down with a 4-year-old, like trying to make a video to see if they can pop. That's happening in this world right now somewhere. And that's, that's another thing I try to just mostly ignore.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you would just put your headphones in and the girl could sing in peace.
Yeah,
but
I'm good at
PSA.
I'm good at I can put blinders on, man.
Don't let your kids sing on a plane.
I agree with that.
And if you're an adult, don't sing on a plane.
Yeah.
I shouldn't go without saying.
Yeah.
GP, thanks for joining us.
It's good to see
as
you
always
again.
on a Monday. We'll take a break. We'll come back. WNBA action from the weekend. The Indiana Fever. They lost to the worst team in the WNBA while Caitlin Clark continues to be out with this injury. We'll get into that. Plus, the WNBA Commissioner's Cup started yesterday, and the New York Liberty had a commanding win over that same team that the Fever lost to. We'll talk WNBA plus Hot Mess Express after a quick break.
Have you always dreamed of entertaining on the biggest stage in Memphis? The Claw Crew is looking for members to join their team for the 2025-2026 season. Claw Crew members are hardworking, high-energy entertainers who assist Grizzlies home games by hyping up the crowd and much more. Not only do they support the Grizzlies on home games, but also promote in Memphis and across the Mid-South. Open auditions are Saturday, August 9th at FedEx Forum. Visit grizzlies.com/auditions for more information and to register today.
Let's face it, there's a lot of trash talk in basketball, but the great teams let their performance do the talking. Like Ford F-150 with Pro Power on board, a class-exclusive industry-first feature that turns your truck into a mobile generator and leaves the competition speechless. Ford F-150, official truck of the Grizzlies. Greatness starts here at your Mid-South Ford dealer. Class is full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds, GBWR.
With a knockaway. Good defense. Durant attacking, spinning, hanging, and hitting. Let's go! Let's go!
Kroger shoppers and Grizz fans, one exclusive last-minute discounted ticket deals takes it straight to you during the Grizzlies 2024-2025 season. Sign up with the new Kroger Buzzer Beater deal. Fans can sign up by texting Grizz to 636-479 or visit your local Kroger store in the Delta Division and scan the QR code. By signing up, you agree to receive recurring automated promotional and personalized marketing text messages from the Memphis Grizzlies. Consent is not a condition of any purchase. Message frequency varies. Message and data rates may apply.
Sonic Radio. Welcome back to Sonic RNDIO. That spells radio with me, the CIO. This just in, the new Sonic $1.99 menu lets you build a crave-worthy meal for just $1.99 an item. Whether that's a creamy shake, crispy tots, or a quarter-pound double cheeseburger. This just out. Ostriches. They're mean, not very cute, and in my opinion, way too big for a bird. Don't miss the Sonic Fun 99 menu. 5 items, always $1.99. Live free, eat Sonic.
Tax not included. See menu for details.
CP the franchise. Do we hate the Pacers?
Of course. I hate Haliburton. I hate Reggie. I hate the Pacers. I hope
where does Haliburton rank?
Where's he rank? Yeah, is there potential for him to be more hated than Reggie by the end of this series?
If you start flipping it all off, for sure.
Yes. Well, first of all, they're built the same. They damn near look the same. You know what I mean? He's like reincarnated Reggie Miller.
The Chris Vernon Show, live on weekdays at noon on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Jalen Wells is in studio right now. You took on tough, if not the toughest defensive assignment. When did you realize that would be your role?
And that's what I was working towards since training camp. I was trying to guard. I was trying to guard Dez. I was trying to guard Ja whenever I could, even if they're blowing by me, overpowering me. I really didn't care, because I was a rookie. So it's like, that's what's going to happen to a rookie.
The Gary Parrish Show, live on weekdays at 10 a.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Last week, I gave you the update about my son Kevin in terms of having to choose.
Has he made the decision?
He picked Tennessee State.
Oh, my heart, Mike.
The next day, we got an email from the director of Tuskegee's program laying out everything that they were going to be doing. And he flip-flopped.
There we go.
He flip-flopped. So he's going to be going down to Tuskegee.
Get all of your HBCU sports and culture news by tuning in to HBCU Huddle with CJ Hurt and Mike Wallace. New episodes drop every Thursday on grindcitymedia.com, YouTube, and Spotify.
Welcome back. WNBA action from over the weekend. The WNBA Commissioner's Cup started yesterday. You could not watch it on regular television, which was frustrating for me, but alas, was able to catch up with it thanks to the WNBA YouTube and all the highlights that come across. For people who don't know, the WNBA Commissioner's Cup, I guess it's similar to the Emirates Cup on the NBA side. It's a mid-season tournament of sorts, but it's a competition where they're competing for a $500,000 prize pool. And then they also, every team is designated to a specific social justice group. So everybody has a charity that they're playing for as well. It began on Sunday, and the most resounding outcome from the first day of games, the New York Liberty went out and lapped the Connecticut Sun, 100-52. The final score, it was Ellie the Elephant's birthday, and they came and absolutely dominated on her behalf. It was not even as close as that score feels, which is an absurd thing to say, given that it was 100-52. They scored 2 points in the last 6 minutes and still won by 48 because they were chasing that 3-point record. Instead, they made 19 threes for a second time this season. They really wanted 20. They were gunning for them. They didn't make them. They went a little cold down the stretch and still won by 48. This is your reminder that despite what some people on the internet say, in particular, people who are saying that the state of New York has not won a major sports championship since 2011. The New York Liberty literally won the WNBA championship last year, and they look like they are very much in position to have a potential to repeat this year.
Okay.
What?
I enjoy the W. I do. Is it a Big Four sport?
We have not been talking about sports in the correct way with women.
All right.
So, yeah, no, it's not a Big Four because we deemed the Big Four NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB. But
if we change it
right up there with MLB and NHL.
If we just change it to basketball, football, baseball, hockey.
Sure.
Okay.
And the MNBA people are going to be really mad about that.
Well, they'll get over it.
I just think I think that's part of the problem. I think when you're having these conversations, and not trying to be like shaking finger, like, how dare you leave it out? No, that is how we talk about sports. And so it is an important thing to correct when you're used to saying things, like the collective sports media landscape is used to saying things like New York hasn't won a championship since 2011. But no, the New York Liberty literally won last year. And they will remind you, and I think anybody who is a fan of the WNBA or at least open to the WNBA's relevance in today's sports landscape, it's important to add that to the conversation. Like, we don't move forward if we don't start including that in the realm. And like the numbers they're polling, from the Liberty to obviously the Indiana Fever and everything that comes with Caitlin Clark, like, put the respect on the WNBA at this point.
Okay.
I don't think that's a stretch.
Okay. I think we've got to change how we talk about sports.
Yeah.
Over here. And to make it include the W, because the W is a sport that warrants being included. Especially at this point in time, interest is continuing to go up and it's getting better. So yeah, if you want to be included, I understand that and I agree with you. Put the damn games where I can get to them.
Yes, always
put the
more.
And
you've had more than ever.
Yes.
But I would love the treatment.
The start of the Commissioner's Cup, I feel like it started Saturday or whenever. Started Sunday. One of those games. It was only 3 games. One of those.
It was 4, and none of them were on.
So it was Liberty and
it's Liberty Sun, Mercury beat the Sparks 85-80. No, Aces Storm.
Aces Storm.
Aces Storm and Lynx Valkyries.
There we go.
And you have the defending champions. Like, I get it. So many of the Fever games are on national television because the eyeballs come with it. But at this point, like, even when you look at there was a New York Times article last week on what the New York Liberty, like the investment of that team and what it is worth today, it's massive. Even when you look at the Valkyries, who aren't great, but were up 1 on the Minnesota Lynx at halftime and then proceeded to score 8 points in the third quarter and fell apart and ultimately lose by 11. But they're selling out their arena. Like, there's enough attention that we don't have to do this. And I think it's a stupid storyline at this point. But it was on display over the weekend because the Knicks lose. And it's like, basketball's over in New York. And it's like, no, literally the Liberty are right there. And then they go out and beat the Sun 100-52 and make 19 threes. And you're again screaming into the abyss, how on earth did anybody allow Natasha Cloud to join the New York Liberty? And Sabrina Ionescu was great in this game. My favorite moment, and what I think is really indicative of who this Liberty team was Sabrina was called for a foul on Marina Mabry in the third quarter, and it was on a 3, and Sabrina took issue with it, and ultimately the coaches challenged that call, and it gets overturned. It wasn't a foul, and Sabrina Ionescu's reaction looks like it was the most important moment of any game of all time. Please look at the score when this happened. It was 74-28. And she's out there celebrating like it was a critical moment of a close fourth quarter game. And there's Coach Sonia Robin, former Memphis Grizzlies assistant coach, now with the New York Liberty. I just loved that. Like, they're playing with that kind of intensity. They're the kind of team who's up big and they don't really care. They just want to bury you. They want to murder you. They want to take your soul and just.
Yeah, you know my stance on her. So I saw that.
I know.
Was like, that's a petulant child. You're up 50.
Come on.
Grow up. Act like you've been there before. You're supposed to be a
Care.
champion. Grow up. Care. Fine. You're up 50. You shouldn't be running all over the damn
46.
court.
If they were up 50, maybe she wouldn't have done it.
Oh, rounding up. You're up 50. 46. You're up. Like, come on. And listen, that's just me not liking that player as a player. Right? Like, I'd running around high-fiving coaches, everybody tee-hee-hee and cackling. Yeah, I expect her to show up big and beat the hell out of the Sun. In a game in, what is this, June, in a game at the end of May.
It's the Commissioner's Cup. It just means more.
Okay, cool. Talk to me when championships are actually on the line, because I've seen that player vanish, Ninja Turtle style, several times in big moments. So, okay, whatever.
They are 7-0. No starter had to play more than 23 minutes.
How did they?
Coach Tom Thibodeau, take notes.
Well, if the Knicks ever got up 50,
no, if the Knicks are up 50, Mikal Bridges is still in there, being like, Coach, water. It's like SpongeBob, like water. No, they're great. Stewie, Phoebich, Jonquel, Natasha Cloud, Sabrina, Marianne.
The Sun were right there for like 3 years.
The Sun was so
right
bad.
there, and they decided, nope, we are
Marina
done.
Mabry was a minus 55 in this game.
Who else is
because
around?
You want to know why? She left it all on the court in that game against the Indiana Fever. I was at a pool party on Saturday, and one of my friends had won a really great Caitlin Clark koozie. And I was like, hey, Caitlin Clark koozie. He's like, yeah. How important is Caitlin Clark that without her, the Indiana Fever lose to the worst team in the WNBA? And I got really offended. I was like, whoa. The Mystics are not the worst team in the WNBA. Like, they have overperformed early in the season. He's like, I'm not talking about the Mystics. They lost to the Connecticut Sun on Friday. I had so clearly assumed that the Fever would have a get-right game against the Connecticut Sun on Friday following their loss to the Mystics, their second game without Caitlin Clark, that it was but a blip in the back of my brain. I was like, there is no way in HE double hockey sticks that the Fever are going to lose to the Sun, even without Caitlin Clark. And then I saw the final score, and I went back and I watched the highlights from that game, and they sure did lose 85-83.
I watched that game. That game was someplace I could watch it.
Yeah, because it's the Fever.
And oh yeah, good point. And it was like, what the hell are the Fever doing? And then the fourth quarter happened, and DeWanna Bonner started making all of the threes. Like, here we go. Yes, they have played very, very poorly for the entirety of this game, but they'll get the win. They'll get to come out of here feeling good about themselves for winning, but knowing, hey, this is not enough. And then they just fell apart. DeWanna Bonner hit like 3 or 4 threes in the fourth quarter, and then after that, there wasn't much. And I just don't understand how, with Mitchell and Bonner and Howard and Aaliyah Boston, they aren't a better team without Caitlin Clark. That's confusing to me.
They all have to be better. Kelsey Mitchell especially, I think, has been really tough over this 2-game stretch and even going back to the early parts of the season. But I look at the 2 games without Caitlin because, yes, you do assume that based on how the Fever are built, when you looked at the schedule of opponents that were coming up through this 2-week Caitlin Clark injury, you were pretty confident that at least at the beginning portion of it, they would find ways to win. Like, these were beatable teams, from the Mystics to obviously the Connecticut Sun. And now they're 2-4 with 3 straight losses, going back to the loss to the Liberty, which is the game where the Caitlin Clark injury ended up happening. And she played the entirety of that game, and it went down to the wire. But you've now lost to the Mystics, and you've lost to the Sun. And when you look at Kelsey Mitchell in those 2 games, she's only scored 27 points in the last 2 games, and she's 8 of 31 from the field. She's 2 of 11 from 3. And she is supposed to be one of the reasons why you feel confident that this team can win or find ways to win without Caitlin Clark. And when you look at the final play of that game, because they had a chance to win, like you said, they were in it. They were in it against the Mystics. They were in it against the Sun. They were even in it against the Liberty. Like, they're in these games down the stretch. So yes, while they're 2-4, it's not like they're getting blown out by any means. They were down 15 in the fourth quarter. DeWanna Bonner's threes were big, and Kelsey Mitchell had a 3 at the end of the game. It was just a bad play. Like, it ended up obviously not going the way that they intended. I think it was Lexi Hull, who was inbounding it, and Mitchell comes off a screen from Aaliyah Boston, and either Hull was too early with the pass or Mitchell wasn't in the right spot and had to kind of leap for it or lunge for it, and it ends up being an off-balance three and kind of like a prayer shot, as opposed to, she would have had a wide open look. And those are the shots that she's supposed to make. But I do think it's so representative of, and we see it, just the easiest NBA comparison is the Golden State Warriors and what they look like when Steph Curry is off the court, and it makes them such a different team. When you have a heliocentric offense run around a generational player, be it a Steph or a Caitlin Clark, when that gets removed, everybody else's jobs become so much more difficult, and they have to play out of their natural position. And so for Kelsey Mitchell, she's struggling to create. She can't create for herself. She can't create for others, as opposed to when she's able to just be like a standout perimeter shooter. That's her at her best. So it's a trickle-down effect, and God, they need more ball handlers. I saw they just signed, what's her name? Ari McDonald for an injury waiver because Colson got hurt in that game early on, and Sophie Cunningham got hurt in the fourth quarter. And I know they were happy that neither of the MRIs showed that they were going to be long-term injuries, but they were down to, I think, just 8 available players. So they at least have somebody coming in who should be able to help.
I hear everything you say about ball handling and creating. I think you just get the ball up the court and then give it to Aaliyah Boston in the high post and then just play off of that then. Because that's what ends up happening oftentimes, not all the time, but often enough. Off of the Caitlin Clark stuff, you end up with a Aaliyah Boston screen, somebody doubles, Aaliyah Boston gets to the high post, boom, catch, turn, face up, and then we play ball from there. Now, Caitlin Clark is a big-time gravity puller. She bends defenses just by her presence being on the court because you got to shade to her. And when she has the ball, you got to be ready to go because she can go by you. She will go by you. She can finish at the rim. She can also step back on you from three. That puts a whole lot of pressure on your defensive rotations. I understand that. But in lieu of her being there, you got to find some other way to get quality looks and easier looks at the basket. And I think you can do that simply by saying, okay, this is how we're going to initiate the offense. Let's just run Aaliyah up there. Boom, she's in the high post, and everybody start cutting off of that. It's I think it's the chin offense where you've got the high post player and then the passes are going around. Everybody cutting off of the high post player, and then eventually it gets to the high post, you face up, and then you go about making plays. I think that she's a dynamic enough offensive player to where you should be able to lean on her until Caitlin Clark gets back. Now, thankfully for them, Caitlin Clark will be back, 2 or 3 more games? Allegedly from what the initial reports were.
The initial
2 weeks.
report had her
And
missing this game against the Mystics.
Yep.
And then the next game against the Chicago Sky.
Okay.
Both of those games. On
TV,
television.
where we can
on NBA TV, on CBS.
Although from what I hear.
Oh, God. Fever Sky on CBS.
From what I hear.
Caitlin Clark, just sit out
Pass.
one more. I think she's supposed to miss that game anyway.
From what I hear, league pass is like $35. So
yeah,
maybe,
it's a great deal.
Maybe I'll go and get it.
I don't know why this happens to me. And again, this is like changing the way that you view the W or just basketball in general. I hate having to pay for something that I need to watch for work.
I don't have any. If
I have
not
Red
for
Zone.
them, if not for them, I'd have none of it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't come on my TV, then I just wouldn't see it. But I got the FanDuel for them, and I don't have Red Zone, NFL, NBA League Pass. I just don't, because like you, I'm not trying to pay additional money for things that I feel like I should.
I'm trying to cut back. As opposed to do extra.
CNN was talking about the WNBA.
Oh, God.
And not the WNBA. Let me be
I get
clear.
nervous when CNN or any news
were talking
organization is talking about the WNBA.
I think Kari Champion was on also this morning on the CNN broadcast. I forget the name of the show. They change hosts in the morning so much.
A million times.
But yeah, they were talking about the Caitlin Clark Angel Reese of it. Oh my God. So not even the W.
You want to know what's insane?
What?
One of those trash outlets put out a headline. Paige Becker's got a concussion. Paige is in concussion protocol after the Wings Sky game from late last week. And they put out some headline of like Paige Becker's gets concussed in game with Angel Reese. Angel Reese wasn't even on the court. It was Paige Becker. I think Paige Becker's ran into Courtney Vandersloot. She wasn't even there.
Ooh,
I'm like,
white on white crime.
Exactly. So why put that in the headline? Come on. God, I was like, they This is why it's so difficult, because the skies stink and like there's obviously a myriad of issues there. But the way that people talk about Angel Reese stinks too. Like that is just a fact of the matter. Like when that is an actual headline from not a website that I'm giving credibility to, but some people would go and seek their sports coverage there, and like that's the framing of it. That's why it's an issue. You can guess. I don't want to give their name any credit. It's actually probably not who you think on first. It's not the BS.
I was thinking okay.
It's the okay.
Immediately.
It's the okay.
Because that's what CT does. Immediately, that's the stuff that they do over there.
Disgusting.
Well, so who's playing? Anybody tonight?
Nobody's playing tonight.
Okay.
Give us a game on a Monday. We got nothing. The Stanley Cup final doesn't start until Wednesday.
Yeah.
The NBA finals don't start until Thursday.
So this is your moment.
I'm gonna have to watch baseball.
I get to put on my booty diver shirt and watch a couple innings of baseball.
Oh, I might watch the Women's College World Series or the baseball is into regionals. Vanderbilt lost.
Oh, no.
They followed suit of Texas A&M women being the number 1 seed that doesn't make it to the next weekend. Vanderbilt had the same thing happen to them on the baseball side of things.
Man.
Let's use that as an opportunity to get into some Hot Mess Express, the messiest, hottest stories from this weekend. One of them did come from
Hold on, wait. Are we not doing the train?
Chugga. All aboard!
The Hot Mess Express.
Much like the United States of America, sometimes I forget trains exist. They're not the most accessible thing in the world. The Hot Mess Express. We had a major ball don't lie moment in the Women's College World Series, the softball World Series, I should say. UCLA, Tennessee. So we have a local tie as well. UCLA's Megan Grant hit a 2-run home run in the top of the 7th to give UCLA a lead. You can't see it in that video, but Megan Grant does not touch home plate when she crosses. She oversteps it, so her teammates guide her back to touch home plate. However, according to the rule book, that doesn't matter that they guided her back. It should be an out. She should not have been granted her 2-run home run, and UCLA should not have taken the lead, but a different, obscure rule helped the umpires determine that play was non-reviewable. So because it's non-reviewable, it stands, and Tennessee was hot, as they should be.
This tied it up.
Was that the tying home run? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is what ties it, and then ultimately they get to the 9th, and this is where you have the ball don't lie, because Tennessee's Laura Mueller walked it off in the 9th. She walked it off. So Tennessee wins regardless and saves a lot of people from having to have uncomfortable conversations about the fact that that should have never been a game-tying home run in the first place.
I got to, I don't know how hot of a sports take this is, but it's pomp and circumstance trotting around the bases any damn way.
How dare you?
Like, what does it matter if she touched it or didn't touch it?
It's the integrity of the
get out of
sport.
Here. Get out of here. The integrity of the sport is the home run.
Not to matter?
No. I want none of the bases to matter after you hit a home run. I don't know why we're still trotting around bases like that. But you hit the home run, you touch the bags, you don't touch home plate. Like, I don't know, man. It feels kind of corny, right? Like, if that's how UCLA lost.
Okay, but then do you find it corny on a play in football when the receiver or the running back drops the ball before the goal line?
No.
They're wide open. It's going to happen regardless.
No, that's different.
Why is it different?
That's different because people are still chasing you down the field. Detail. People are still, yes, it is attention to detail. Absolutely.
Both are attention to detail.
People are still chasing you downfield. There is nothing.
Both are moments of showboating.
There is nothing the defense can do once you hit a home run. There's nothing at all.
But if you have a good, barring you trip and tumble like cartoon style, there's nothing the defense can do then too.
Stuff can happen between the goal line and the 1 yard line.
Correct.
Again,
as always, as the furthest right person on the show.
Come over here to this side.
You are always correct.
I don't think it's that big of a deal. I
says
saw
the man in
around.
the It's party time.
It is. It's always party time, cowabunga. I saw that coming across my feed. It's like, I don't understand why this is such a big deal. And then I remembered that UCLA was not in the Pac-12, they're in the Big Ten, and it is a big deal. Get them out of here. They should not be playing softball anymore. They should be banned from softball for life.
They're done.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
We hate UCLA.
Good. Wish Vols football could have eliminated Buckeyes, but I'll take Vols softball knocking off those dreaded, distasteful Bruins.
Keeping it baseball, softball related. The Colorado Rockies are absolutely atrocious. We have mentioned them on the show. Do you know how bad you have to be for our show to mention your baseball team multiple times at this point in the season? They are now 9-50.
Goodness.
They have yet to get 10 wins. They were swept for the 10th time this season over the weekend. On the road, they're 3-28. They've won 3 road games. Wins since the start of the Major League Baseball season. The Colorado Rockies, 9. The Denver Nuggets, 10. Wins since September 22nd, 2024. The Colorado Rockies, 10. They got 1 at the latter part of last season. The Denver Broncos, 10. In what universe should your NFL team have more wins than you on June 2nd in your baseball season? They are abysmal. At this point, I'm rooting against them winning because it's funnier the longer they go by not getting 10 wins. Like, if you're going to be this bad, I want you to be worst of all time. And right now, worst start we've ever seen. But now, like, you better have the worst season in baseball history. Let this be remembered.
What else are you playing for at this point?
You're playing to be horrible.
How did they get this bad?
Oh, years and years of negligence.
But, like, this is... They used to be respectable in this thing.
I was there.
They were respectable.
I was there at the World Series for 1 year and 1 year only.
Which year?
We had our moment, 2008.
Okay, so but they were respectable in the 2010s.
2007. Excuse
okay, they
me.
were respectable long after that though. Also,
that was kind of the peak.
They don't got no. They don't got no playoff appearances since then. Why do I feel like they were fine 14, 15? When did my man get popped for steroids for them? The catcher. Why am I blanking on his name? He caught a season suspension. Why am I blanking on dude's name? Am I even talking about the right team?
Alfonso?
No, he was a regular white. He wasn't Latin.
Okay, I don't know who you're talking about.
I just feel like whatever the case may be, they hadn't been 9 wins in 60 games type bad. No. That is abysmal. Poor Rockies fan.
Who are you thinking is a...
I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Okay. All right, you look it up. Other hot mess stories from the weekend. Paris Saint-Germain clinched its first Champions League title on Saturday after beating Inter Milan 5-0. The city went crazy, CJ. 200 people were injured. 4 people were seriously injured. 300 people were arrested. A 17-year-old boy was stabbed. A man in his 20s was hit by a car on his scooter. Another man is in a coma after he got hit by a firework. These fans were starved for a Champions League win and then proceeded to do this. The images out of Paris are wild from this weekend. On Sunday, they had like their official gathering with the team and they were back in town because the win came in Germany. And that celebration seemed very normal, like typical parade, everybody's there, everybody's having a good time. But Saturday into Sunday night, like what would you do if you were caught in the middle of celebrations to that degree?
Run for my life. That's terrifying.
I'm out.
That's terrifying. People are telling me it was Alfonso, so I guess it was Alfonso, showing my baseball knowledge. That is, like, we talk about how crazy our sports are,
yes,
and then we try and compare it to people in the world. It's like it's not quite as crazy as this thing. I hope to good God above that it never gets to this. That was terrifying. They were losing their minds in the streets after that.
Yeah.
What a way to ruin the celebration.
That is one way. I don't think it matters to them. They're like, that's a couple casualties. PSG's on top. We've got this. Didn't even have to have a star to do it.
No. Mbappe, suck it.
Suck it, Mbappe.
But no, I don't. I hope to never be caught up in something like that.
No, it'd be really scary.
Yeah.
That's why the Knicks couldn't win a championship, because that's how New York would have been.
I don't think it would have been that. That is different. You think it's that?
I think it could have gotten there.
Okay.
It has to be a walkable city. Step
does.
one.
It does.
Like a multi-connected city.
Philly was bad.
Philly was bad.
Philly when the Eagles won.
Yeah.
That was the first one.
And I think New York would be crazier than Philly.
Okay.
I think of all the places in the United States, partially because they're so starved.
Yep.
So similar to PSG, like they haven't done it. And so that elevates it to a different degree. And then it's just the standard of that city and how celebrations would occur. Okay. But anyway, scary times. Did you find anything else on your Colorado Rockies research?
No.
Do you want to know the story of Patti LuPone?
Yes!
Can you help me go through this? Because I need to know what you need to know.
I need to know it all. All I got, and I hopped off of it immediately. All I got across my feed on Sunday, I think it was Sunday when I sent it to you. It might have been Saturday. I don't know. Was Patti LuPone apologized.
Which does not happen.
Holy hell.
In this world.
I don't know anything about Miss Patti LuPone. And I know even less about Broadway in general, but I know that damn diva there does not apologize.
Diva is the opportune word. Diva with a hard D. And that's what we're going to say, because she used hard D with Audra McDonald not being a friend in the now viral New Yorker piece that came out last week. So some background on this for people who don't know who Patti LuPone is. I do think she's a more recognizable theater name. This is one of those people who kind of crosses the only theater people know her, and she's pretty mainstream. She tours. She's been on, what's that Agatha show?
She was one of the witches, right? In the, it was Agatha all along.
Yes. She's been on that. She was Audrey Plaza's roommate over the last year, which kind of brought her some younger fans.
Audrey Plaza was her roommate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. She allowed Audrey Plaza to live with her during that time. From a Broadway standpoint, like, she goes way back. She was in Evita. She was in Gypsy. She's been in a lot of things. She's a big name and a big personality, and she never apologizes. Like, infamously, I think I've told the story on this show. She got into some beef with Andrew Lloyd Webber, the composer, over the original Sunset Boulevard, where she ended up being replaced by Glenn Close, who is a familiar name and a movie star. And Glenn Close took over, and she ended up suing and winning. And she used the earnings from that lawsuit to build a pool in her backyard, and she calls it the Andrew Lloyd Webber Memorial Pool. Like, this is the kind of person we're dealing with. She hates Madonna so much because Madonna played Eva Perón in the Evita movie, and she thinks Madonna's horrible. And rather than apologize to Madonna, she was on, what's the Hot Wings show? Why can't I think of it? Hot Ones. She was on Hot Ones, and she ate the spiciest hot wing instead of saying, I'm sorry, Madonna, because she has been so vocally critical of Madonna. So that sets up who Patti LuPone is. Last year, there was an incident on Broadway. Patti LuPone was in a play called The Roommate with Mia Farrow. At the same time, it shared a wall with the Hell's Kitchen musical, which is the Alicia Keys jukebox musical. And Patti LuPone now notoriously complained that Hell's Kitchen was too loud and the sound was bleeding over into the theater that The Roommate was in. This is a common thing that happens on Broadway. Like, these are old buildings. When you're sharing a wall, especially if it's a musical and a play, there's often competing sounds. But she took it to, bigger people at the theater next door, ended up sending flowers to a actress named Keisha Lewis, who was in Hell's Kitchen. And Keisha Lewis accused Patti LuPone of committing a microaggression. And then it turned into Audra McDonald commenting on Keisha Lewis's Instagram post about it. And anyway, it was a small incident, but now it has gained significant legs because it got brought up in this New Yorker interview that Patti LuPone did last week that came out. And in it, she calls Keisha Lewis the B word, and she also is asked about Audra McDonald's revival of Gypsy, of which she just pauses and had such a diva answer. And as opposed to giving her take on Gypsy, she said, wow, what a beautiful day it is outside. That gets taken, and suddenly it's War of the Worlds of everybody standing up for Audra McDonald and Keisha Lewis, who Patti LuPone was an idiot and was rude and did do something very wrong in suggesting that Keisha Lewis is not a veteran Broadway performer. Keisha Lewis has been in 10 Broadway productions at this point. She's a vet. But in Patti LuPone's universe, no one is as much of a vet as her. This came to a head where 500 Broadway performers signed a letter asking for the Tony Awards, the award body that awards musicals and plays, and it's coming up next weekend. They asked them to disinvite Patti LuPone from this event. Then we get a Patti LuPone apology. And I saw somebody say that getting a Patti LuPone apology is not a recession indicator, it's an apocalypse indicator. And this just doesn't happen. And so I thought it was a pretty heartfelt apology. She said, for as long as I worked in the theater, I've spoken my mind, never apologizing. That is changing today. She's admitting she never apologizes. That's how she starts her apology. She said she was sorry about the words she used during the New Yorker interview, particularly about Keisha Lewis, which were demeaning and disrespectful. I regret my flippant and emotional responses during this interview, which were inappropriate, and I'm devastated that my behavior has offended others and has run counter to what we hold dear in this community. I hope to have the chance to speak to Audra and Keisha personally to offer my sincere apologies, and so on and so forth. And that's where we are at with this. But talk about something that just, I did not expect it to get to the point where it became a mainstream conversation. Now, added in this, Audra McDonald was on the cover of Time magazine. She was on the CBS morning show with Gayle King, and Gayle King tried to messily, because Gayle's good at that. She does it in a respectful way, but she's trying to get the tea for everybody else. And Audra McDonald wouldn't like give any. She didn't know the beef that Patti LuPone had alluded to in this article, and kind of just played the good card. And Audra McDonald was rewarded as she won Best Actress at the Drama Desk Awards last night, which is a huge indicator for what the Tony Awards could look like. But there's your Broadway drama of the day. Any questions?
Patti LuPone doesn't seem to me as a microaggression type of person. She seems like just an aggressive type person, correct? All right.
So that was okay. One, I am a white person. I don't get to accept Patti LuPone's apology, and I don't get to make the declaration of if Patti LuPone is racist or not. I don't know those things, and like how Keisha Lewis and how Audra McDonald and how other Black members of the Broadway community feel about Patti LuPone. I think this was like a mountain of instances, and it kind of became represented in Patti. But my take on Patti is she's a bad word.
She's mean.
She's really mean to everybody. And especially if she's threatened by you, as I do think that she probably sits in that space with Audra McDonald, 6-time Tony Award winner Audra McDonald. Patti LuPone has 3. Like, sure, she's great, but Audra McDonald is like, arguably one of the greatest. Like, if we were doing a GOATs of musical theater, Audra McDonald, award-wise and success-wise, like, definitively has to have a spot on that. And Patti LuPone, you can talk about the character of her, but doesn't have the hardware necessarily to back it up. But I read that article. This is part of my existence off Twitter. I read that article organically and thought that story was going to disappear, and like was like, oh, haha, Patti LuPone's being an absolute C word again. That's what I said out loud. Okay. And then it turned into an entire conversation about her past. And do I wish she was a nicer person? Sure,
No.
but that's not her.
Oh.
She's a diva. I mean, I wish that she could understand why, like, those comments to Keisha and Audra would be different. She also called Glenn Close the B word in the article, too. Like, it's different.
She just got it for everybody.
Again. She's great. They're not going to make them like her anymore because everybody's going to have to apologize. I apologize because we're out of time on this Monday 2-hour show. We'll be back tomorrow. Mike Wallace will join us. We'll catch up with him about all things NBA Finals. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday. We'll see you then. Bye.
We didn't even get to talk about